Hey, and welcome back to the Brewed for Life podcast. Episode 3 of season number 2. Like I said in the first 2 episodes, I really want to kind of make this season a little bit of a focus on, my retail background and some of the stuff that has happened and some of the stuff I've seen. And yeah, we're going to touch on some other things throughout this season, but primarily going to stay focused on my experiences in working in retail. So with that said, I want to kind of give you some stories and stuff of stuff that had happened in my very first job. And my first job was at this little place called Brookfield Market in Brookfield, Connecticut. And as I had said last season when I had talked a little bit about my past, it's a place in town that had been established for a long time, and everybody shopped in there. And the owner was this gentleman named Carl, and Carl was super, like, if you met the guy, you would never know that he was well off. But, like, he did. He owned the store him and his brother owned the store from the time it opened, and then Carl eventually opened up a liquor store. So there was a small grocery store and the liquor store. And, he did a good job at running his businesses, to be fair. The guy, he was very savvy when it came to things. And I got hired there when I was 15 years old. And in my time there, like, it was, I don't know. I call it a rite of passage because a lot of people that went to the local high school worked there part-time, and then there was a handful of people that worked there full-time. One of them being the guy that got me into working at the supermarket that I worked at for a while. But this place, the stuff that used to go on in there, it was literally, at times, it seemed like more of a frat house, like just a house full of jokes, than it did an actual work environment. So I just wanted to share a couple of things that had gone on while I was there. And the first one kind of pertains to Carl. Like he was in his 80s when he passed away, his late 80s, and I had worked there for probably close to 10 years. Maybe not quite 10 years, maybe 7 or 8. But anyway, so in that time frame, Carl he used to have these routines. So he'd come walking in at about 8:30, and he would say good morning to everybody, and he would go next door and primarily sit in the liquor store for a good portion of the day, sitting at his desk, going over numbers and finances and that kind of stuff. But as Carl got older, he was less and less capable to do certain things. So he'd want us to go get his car for him before he left, which his car smelled like if you never took a shower ever and threw a dead fish in a car and let it just kind of ferment. That's what his car smelled like. So we would go and get his car, and we would take like tree air fresheners off the shelf and start stuffing them underneath the seat and whatever else. The smell was like you couldn't even stand to move it from his parking spot to the front of the building. It just smelled so bad. It was like this sour, like nasty BO. And I always thought it was weird because the guy was wealthy. Like, why the fuck does your car smell like this? Why does it smell like you've never showered in your life and you just sat in the seat naked, letting your seats just absorb all your funk? And I never understood it. So I tried to avoid getting the car at all costs. And the longer I was there, I'd make the new people go do it because I just couldn't stand the smell. So there was that. And then it seemed like at least once a week, Carl would be coming over from the liquor store to into the market to get the few things that he needed. And it never failed. The guy would always forget to buckle his pants or whatever when he got, I don't know. I don't even know why it happened, because it's not like he would come in from the bathroom and be walking out of the bathroom and his pants would fall down. He would come in from his chair and in the liquor store and he'd walk through the front door and you just hear him, oh, God damn it, his pants would be falling down around his ankles. He'd be trying to catch the door so it didn't hit him, put his fucking basket down, and you just stand there and you didn't know whether to go help him or fucking start laughing because, like, how does this happen this often? Like, fix your fucking pants, man. Like, just, I don't know. If you're capable of coming to work and doing what he did all day long, you think he'd be capable of remembering to tighten his belt or whatever. So that was one thing. And then there was this guy, John. And John, I've known him for many years. And when I went to go work for the other company, like, I worked for John, and John worked for me more times than I worked for him. And John was a very strange dude. He would sit out in his car and sit in his trunk. He'd pop the trunk up and he'd have like this little acoustic guitar and he'd be out there singing Gordon Lightfoot or John Denver or some shit. And he would just like, I don't know. You would almost think that his personality was fake with the way he used to fucking do shit. But he had this one thing that he did all the time that was fucking meticulous, and it would drive everybody nuts. Whenever I think about this story, I think about Goodfellas. And there's that scene where, like De Niro and Pesci and Ray Liotta, and they're all sitting at the table, and they're talking about that guy Spider that would bring him drinks, and Joe Pesci's character, goes, Spider, go get your fucking shine box or whatever. No, that's not the right scene. It's a different scene. There's another part where an old mob guy, they're at a bar, and he's teasing Joe Pesci's character because Joe Pesci used to shine shoes, and the guy starts breaking his balls, and Pesci loses it. His character loses it, and they end up killing this guy in the middle of the bar. But like, that scene is what kind of sticks in my head because John would be outside and he'd have this fucking wooden box with shoe polish and laces and brushes, and he'd be out there bent straight over, legs never bent. He never sat down. He would just bend straight over, and he'd be shining his fucking shoes, and it would drive us nuts. It became a game for us where we would hide his fucking shine box, and he would lose his shit. Where's my shine box? Where's my shoe box? Blah, blah, blah. And he would storm around like a fucking little kid that you took their favorite toy, and he'd be having a fucking meltdown. And we would never tell him. We would just make it reappear. And we used to do it just to break just to piss him off, because the way he did it was just so, I don't know, it bothered everybody. It wasn't just me. It was everybody that worked in the store. They would go out and because in the store there was a barn, and the barn had a bunch of walk-in coolers and stuff in it. And you'd walk out there to go get something, and here would be John bent over, sometimes with his ass facing the parking lot, bent straight over, fucking shining his shoes. What else the fuck did we do there? The new kids, we used to collect, returned bottles and stuff, but we didn't have machines, so we just had these bins. And you had to separate everything, not just by plastic, glass, or cans, but you had to break it up by who the distributor was, because the distributor was the one who took it back. Pepsi had to go with Pepsi, Coke had to go with Coke, beer distributors had to go with, whatever beer distributor it was. And every once in a while we would get in dry ice. So we would take a 2-liter bottle and we'd break up a little bit of dry ice and shove it in the 2-liter bottle, throw some warm water on there, hurry up and put the cap on it, and throw it underneath the room that we had on the backside of our barn. We called it the bottle room, and it was literally just a shed with all these little things, and you'd be out there in the cold sorting whatever else. And the noise that it would make, it literally sounded like a major explosion, but having it underneath the floor where the bottle room was, people would come running out of there, and to be fair, it's probably not right that we did it, but oh God, like they would be scared shitless. And we used to laugh so fucking hard and see them come running out of that bottle room with the fear of fucking God in them. Like I said, it was like literally like a frat house. There was a time I was out in the bottle shed and all these motorcycles pulled in the parking lot one day, which was weird for us because we never really had a bunch of motorcycles driving around in town, and if we did, they were all coming up Federal Road, which was the main road there, and they were riding to God knows where. But like these people showed up and we're out there sorting bottles. We didn't even hear the guy walk by, but him and his girlfriend walked by, and they come walking out of the woods, and there was like an old rundown barn up behind the house that was next door to the market. And the guy comes walking by, and me and this kid that I'm training, we look at him, and we just like, we didn't say anything. And the guy's fixing his pants, and he was like, you guys mind your business. I was just up there. I rocked that ass. And we're just standing there with fucking blank looks on our face like, who the fuck goes up into this barn that looks like it's going to fall over if somebody coughs too hard near it? And he comes walking out like he just conquered Mount Everest. And it was just some, like, I don't know, she looked like a rundown crack whore, and he looked like he was living under the bridge in front of the fucking store. I don't know, it was fucking weird. That's just some of the stuff that happened there. There was a lady that worked on the front end who I graduated with her daughter, but like this lady was also fucking weird. She had all these things. She constantly had fucking sniffles, so she always had this wet paper towel that she was wiping her nose with. And me and one of the other guys that worked there, we used to fill a deli cup container, like those cups that you get like salads and stuff in, and we'd poke all kinds of holes in it and fill it with fucking black pepper. And we'd walk by her shaking it when she wasn't looking so that she would start sneezing and sniffling and whatever else. And then most of the time she'd have to go home early because she couldn't fucking deal with it. Which really, it was just us trying to get her the hell out of there because she was so fucking irritating. So that's just some of the things that that I experienced in that place. I loved working there. Maybe it was because of all the shenanigans and stuff that we did and all the laughs. It was definitely because I really enjoyed the customers that worked there. You know, Christmas time was really special at that place. We would have so many orders, but customers would bring us in cookies and cakes and like pepperoni bread and food and we got wine and tips were fucking phenomenal and whatever. So I missed when I left there. Now, onward, I went to go work for this other place, and I never really lost that part of me that I enjoyed working at the small store, which was kind of like the prankster. Work needs to be a little bit lighter. It can't be fucking serious all the time, but you got to do something for a laugh here and there. So one of the things that we did is when I was working in one of the stores, we had a really, really good group of department managers in that store, and we all had a great sense of humor. We all worked really, really well together. And the store manager, he brought in, like, he was telling us about how his wife made this phenomenal pulled pork, and next time she makes it, he was going to bring it in, and we were all going to be able to try it. And so he did. He brought it in one day, and the day after, I think he was due to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and all of us are already at the store, all the department heads, and I convinced all of them to act like we weren't there. So we got the front end manager involved in it because he was a little too, he wasn't as jokerish as the rest of us. A little less brazen to speak what was on his mind. But what we did do is we convinced him to tell the store manager when he came in, hey, by the way, like, a lot of the department heads are out today. They all have this stomach bug and not really sure what the hell's going on. They're all, they all called out sick. And him knowing that the only thing we all had in common was that we ate this pulled pork the day before, and we're all upstairs in his office waiting for him, and he comes walking upstairs. You can hear him. You can hear his feet slamming on the stairs coming up because he's freaking out. Like he's got to run the store. He's got none of his department managers there. like what the fuck is he gonna do? And he comes walking upstairs and opens the door to his office, and he's got like this blank look, and he just starts fucking laughing, and he goes, "Which one of you, whose idea was this?" And of course, everybody looks at me because, well, nobody else wanted to get blamed for it if we got in trouble. And to be fair, it was my idea. And he goes, "You're a real fucking asshole." And I just started laughing because he had a good sense of humor. He didn't like that we got his blood pressure going so early in the morning. And he fucking broke my balls all day that day. The sales floor needs to be straightened out. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I kind of asked for it, but I didn't give a shit. I would do it again if I had an opportunity to, because later on, the funny part about that guy is that I felt like him and I had a really rough relationship there. Like we just didn't see eye to eye, and we had many arguments while I was there. Obviously, outside of this one incident, and I had the privilege of working with him later on before he retired, and there's been a few times within working in retail that I felt the need to say I'm sorry, and he was one of those people. When he got transferred to the store that I was working in, I waited till he did his rounds and stuff, and then I went upstairs and I just said, "Hey, I know things were a little rough and we didn't always see eye to eye together, and I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm sorry, and I hope that we can have a better working relationship this time." And something surprised me in that moment is he looked at me and he goes, "I honestly didn't think we had any issues back then." He said, "I was happy that you were here. I was looking forward to coming to work with you again." And I said to him, I go, like, we argued a lot. Like, we really, like, they weren't just disagreements. Like, we were yelling at each other. And multiple times, I told him to his face that I didn't think he cared about what was going on in the store and the lack of staff and all of these things. And he said, "I didn't like what you said, but I appreciated the fact that you said it. And, I hopefully we don't run into those kind of things now, because I think we could really make this store great." And until he retired, I would say that we had a fantastic working relationship, and probably one of the best working relationships I've had with a store manager. There was him and one other guy that I really, really got along with, and we bumped heads, but I respected the hell out of them. And I was really, really happy to have him back. He was one of the people that when I when I was going through the last stuff in my relationship, like, I sat down and I had a very open and honest conversation with him, and he was everything that you would want your supervisor to be. He was there. He understood what I was going through. Not that he had been divorced, but like he knew a lot of people that had been, and the toll that it took on them while they were going through it. And he was incredibly supportive, and I really appreciated it, which obviously made me feel worse for being such a fucking asshole to him previously. But I really, really respected the fact that he was able to look at things in a way back then that I wasn't able to. Like, I was rough on him. But like I said, our relationship later on, just sometimes things come full circle, and that is one of those times where things come full circle. And I was very happy and disappointed to have him retire, but I was very happy that he was able to, so that he could start enjoying his life. So that was one of the things. And in one of the other stores, actually the same store that this guy worked in, the managers there was one guy that I never really, I respected his work ethic, but I never really respected him as an individual, because he was like a real fucking trash bag piece of shit. He at this point when I was working with him, he thought he was like a fucking missing character from Jersey Shore. He had the Pauly D hair and constant fucking fake tan, and was really trying to live that Jim Tan Laundry or whatever the fuck it was back then, and he really thought he was some like God reincarnated to women, and he was none of that. But we all at that time, like it was this company's policy that over the departments there was always a picture of who the department manager was, and his was up there, and all you see is this fucking super tan dude with these white and uncleaned teeth, and this fucking that Pauly D like fucking waterfall. I don't even know what the fuck to call it, but he had all that going on, and he left his fucking tanning glasses out one day. Those little fucking blue round, it just barely covers your fucking eyeballs. And me and my buddy, we grabbed a ladder, and the store manager was like, what are you guys doing? We said, you should probably go back upstairs and not be a part of this, because if somebody gets in trouble, we want you to be able to say that you didn't know what was going on. So here we climb up over his pictures and we tape these fucking tanning glasses over his friggin' eyes. And customers noticed, but you would be surprised how many people didn't notice. Those things were taped to his picture for at least a month. And only when the district manager came in, and I don't know what he was doing, but he finally looked over at him and he started laughing, and he goes, that needs to come down. And this district manager was he was a very dry, monotone guy with a very odd sense of humor, and he laughed at it, but then kind of gave us a little hand slap for doing it. But he appreciated where we were coming from, and I was happy that I didn't get in trouble for that, because I'm sure I probably could have in many different attributes. I probably could have got called upstairs to HR and, blah, 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 blah. In that fucking company, I probably would have gotten suspended for 5 days too. So that's another one of those stories from that company. And then there's a couple other ones that I kind of want to get into that are less funny and more serious. Like the first one, I was working in the store, and it was the store that I started at, and it seemed like we always had some kind of an issue in the store. So I'm working one day, and I'm not even you didn't even realize anything was going on in the building, and I go walking to the front end, and I see this guy being detained at the front of the store, and I get stopped by the store manager, and he goes, "Hey, I need you to go back and just verify from Seafood that this lady, did in fact have her purse stolen." So I go walking back there, and I asked the person in Seafood, and I talked to the lady, and she said, "Yeah, that guy up front, he came back, he grabbed my purse, and I chased him down, and I got my purse back on the front end, and I want to press charges." And I said, "Okay." So I went back up front, and in the time that I had walked back there, this guy that they had detained, he asked for his coat, and they gave him his coat, and he was putting it on, and in his coat was a box cutter. And while he was putting the coat on, people weren't paying attention to him, so he started making a run for the door. And the store director at the time goes to reach for him, and the guy swings his hand with the box cutter in it, cuts the store director's hand wide open right in the entryway, and the guy goes running out the building. I go heading over there. I see that the store director is out there, and there's another guy on the side of the building that has now detained this guy. But what had happened was the guy ran. In the line, there was an off-duty Secret Service agent who saw the guy run. He chased after him, smacks his knee on the way out of the building, and fires a round from his firearm up in the air, which is what gets this guy to stop running. And it created this whole shitstorm. In the store at the time, the head of detectives for the town police was in the building, shopping, ironically. And nothing in my life had ever happened like that. And, like the store manager, he got cut pretty bad. It was deep. It cut some tendons and stuff in his hand, and he had to have all this surgery, and it was a mess. We had to clean up blood from the entryway, clean up the blood from the outside where he was sitting on the bench. And exactly 1 week after that, the loss prevention guys were in the store, because now after this incident, we started to get more foot traffic from the security guys or loss prevention in the store. And I go to him, I go, "Oh yeah, Ryan, where the fuck were you the other day, when this shit was going on?" And he goes, "You watch, I'll get somebody today." And I said, "All right." And Ryan he's probably about my height, so he was like 5'11", 6 foot. He was a stocky kid. And I'm back and I'm filling shelves, and he comes walking by me. He goes, "Come on." He goes, "I got a guy." I went with him, like technically as an employee and not being part of security, you're not supposed to apprehend anybody. You can ask them to stop, you can block their path, but you can't physically put your hands on them. The guy starts heading for the door as Ryan's walking up the aisle, and I go chasing after him, and he tackles this dude outside next to the curb, and we're holding him down as the police are on their way. And in this guy's hand, again, was a pocket knife, and he had 2 more pocket knives in his pocket. And it just made me think, like, here's this town where there's never any real violence. Like, there might be a bar fight or something every once in a while, but, like, nothing like this. And in about a week, we got 2 incidences in the same store. And it put people in the building kind of on high alert, like everybody was really concerned about what the heck was going on. And so that's one of the other things. And then after I left there, I got transferred to a different store, and in this store was this gentleman that he was an older guy, and I think I talked about this earlier, like he thought he was part of the fucking mafia. And something that I haven't shared is that, like, my nationality is, like, my dad's side of the family is Italian, my mom's side of the family is Irish, and my dad grew up in New York, along with my mom also grew up in New York, and just, from 2 different backgrounds. My mom came from a wealthy family, my dad came from a hardworking family, blue collar people, but, like, definitely people that didn't take shit from anybody. And so I get sent to the store, and there's this guy, and I got sent there as the assistant meat manager. And this guy, like, he just tried to impose his will on everybody. And I'm definitely not one of those people that tolerates that kind of crap. Just, as I said before, like, you just treat people the way that you expect them to treat you. And so he comes walking in one day, and I had already cut a bunch of stuff, and I said, "Hey, I just need you to wrap this stuff up and whatever else." And I go upstairs on break, and the meat manager comes walking in, and he comes upstairs, and he goes, "Hey, what did you do to him?" And I go, "What do you mean, what did I do to him?" "Well, he's sitting in the back and he's crying." And I was like, "Crying about what?" Like, all I do is ask him to fucking wrap the shit that I cut, so we get the case full. And he goes, "Well, he thinks you asking him to wrap that product is demeaning because he thinks that wrapping is a woman's job." Now, just for perspective, like, yes, a lot of the women that have worked in meat departments were definitely classified as wrappers. So what you cut and put on a tray, they wrapped and filled the shelves and did those kind of things. Now, that's not to say that there are not, and there was not, women that were also meat cutters. So, like, this guy's narrow-minded, sexist fucking approach was taboo to me, because I had never seen anybody or heard anybody say, "Well, I'm not going to wrap, that's a woman's job." And it was just fucking bullshit. So I go downstairs after my break, and I said, "Hey, like, what was the issue with me asking you to wrap?" "Oh, well, that's a woman's job." I go, "Well, it's not a woman's job. You and I are the only 2 that are here until, the manager came in, and one of us has to do it. And the priority was filling the case out there, so I needed you to wrap this stuff and get it out in the case. It has absolutely nothing to do with a man's job, a woman's job, or whatever. It still needs to fucking get done. So that started this relationship with him where now he thought that I was treating him like he below his standards. And he used to fucking break my balls about all kinds of shit. Hey, I would come in and go, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this. And he would look at me and go, I'm not doing that. I've forgotten more than you'll ever know. And I said, well, you're going to do it because I am the manager and I'm asking you to do a job. And, it's not unreasonable for me to ask you to do what I'm asking you to do. I would go upstairs with him and there would be a conversation about, the insubordination that he was, showing. And he didn't like that I was pushing back on him because he literally thought he was like a fucking mob boss. And as I was pushing back on him, he had said to me, I'm going to have my sons come down here and meet you in the parking lot. And I looked at him, and me, not being somebody that backs down from anything, because at that time in my life, I'll treat you the way you treat me, but you're not going to treat me like I'm your fucking doormat or just some cowardly little bitch that won't stand up for themselves, because that's not who I was then, and it's not who I am now. I might be way more reserved about it now, but I still will not let anybody try to be disrespectful towards me or my family. So I said to him, I go, well, I'm out at 3 o'clock. If your boys want to meet me, I parked over here in this part of the parking lot. Feel free to have them come talk to me. And the funny thing is that I worked with one of his sons. One of the other sons worked in bakery, and one of the other son worked in produce in a completely different store. Now, none of these people, except for the youngest son that worked in bakery, was even the slightest bit intimidating. The younger son spent a lot of time in the gym. He was very strong and physically showed that he had spent a lot of time in the gym. But him and I got along, and he knew his dad was a fucking asshole, so he wouldn't have done anything anyway. So we go back and forth about this stuff, and he tells me one day that he needs a day off because he has an engagement party to go to, and tells me the day before the engagement party. And I said, well, if you need the day off, then you have to switch with somebody because schedule is already done. And he never does it. So he comes into work and he gets all pissed off, and I get a call from the store manager. Well, he said, you said. I go, that's not at all what I said. This is what I told him. And I told him he needed to do this, this, and this in order to be able to have the day off or get out early or whatever it is that he needed to do, because he didn't tell me until yesterday. So I go into work the next day, and it's just me and him there in the morning. And he said, you're a real fucking asshole. My wife sat outside in the cold waiting for me to come pick her up to go to this engagement party, and you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And I said, hold on. And I reiterated everything that I had explained to him. I go, so if your wife was sitting outside in the cold and waiting for you, that's a you fucking problem, because I told you what to do and you chose not to do it. So your wife sitting out there is your fault, not mine. And his face gets all red, and he's like, I'll fucking kill you. I'll have you fucking buried before the end of the week. And I looked at him dead in the eye and I go, shut the fuck up. If you're going to make challenges like that, do I need to call and order my fucking tombstone? Otherwise, get the fuck back to work. And he looked at me like he was fucking livid. But I don't think he ever had anybody stand their ground to him. I think people just automatically cowered to how aggressive he was, just how he came at you, his tone, his body language. He really tried to make you feel like you had to do what he was saying, or he was actually going to do these things. Now, as a person who has had some shit happen to them in their life, I don't fucking tolerate that shit. If you're going to fucking threaten me, then just fucking do it. Don't bark. Don't try to use your words to be some fucking tough guy. If you're going to do it, just fucking do it. And every time those situations have come up in my life where somebody tries to verbally and with their body language intimidate me, I always stand my ground. And I always have stood my ground, because what happens is bullies are used to people being afraid and cowering, and they don't know what to do when you're not afraid. They don't know what to do when you stand your ground and everything about your being is saying, fucking try me. Try it. If I lose, I lose. But you are not going to intimidate me, and you're not going to fucking scare me. They're probably more scared of your reaction if you respond than if you don't. So be strong, believe in yourself, and don't be scared. There are a lot of people that are, they don't like confrontation. And to be fair, I don't think there's a lot of people that in this world actually enjoy confrontation. I don't go looking for confrontation, but I will damn sure not back down from one. I will pick and choose my battles, and I will make sure that if I choose to engage in this confrontation, that I am in a position where at the very least it's a break even. You have to evaluate, you have to think about it, but you have to be able to have confidence in yourself and know that showing fear and being scared is more of the reason why a bully controls you than anything else. You don't even have to be a giant physical force. You just have to show confidence in yourself, especially nowadays. Because these people don't even know if you're carrying a weapon. Two, there are so many people involved in martial arts now. Like, look at all these guys that are so dominant at jiu-jitsu. And when you look at them, they are not a physically intimidating person at all. But they have all the skills in the world to take out whoever it is that they need to and to be able to protect themselves. And some of these bullies and these people that try to intimidate you, they're aware of that. So just show some confidence. They don't know what they're getting into. They don't know you from anything, just like you don't know them from anything. So let them believe that you are who you are. Let your body language speak everything that they need to know. Pick and choose your battle. Only fight the ones that you know are at a bare minimum a break even. Otherwise, I don't want to say, give in, but just be smarter. Try to disengage any of the physical whatever that could potentially happen. Be smart, be strong, and be aware. This was a few more things that have happened in my life while in retail, and a little bit of my insight on being self-confident. You have to have some kind of a confidence. You have to believe in yourself, and it's okay to do those things. It's okay to be strong. So with that said, thank you guys again very much for listening. I appreciate all the follows. I appreciate the listens. As always, don't forget to follow the Instagram pages, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.